27 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, 385 pounds.
People either love him or hate him. It's the sort of personality he is.
He's a character.
So violently strong.
And has the potential to be the strongest ever.
Our next competitor, from England, Eddie Hall.
Every year, he's got that bit better. He is like the next generation of strongman.
Definitely in the top 2 or 3 guys in the world.
He's just a beast.
Eddie Hall, he's got it.
Unless somebody tells me to stop or I actually die, I will be world's strongest man. The scariest thing for me in life is being normal.
A lot of people, you know, they just want to live 9 to 5. Everyone's got different aspirations in life. That's fine, you know, everyone's different. I want to be great. I want to be famous. I want to be #1 in the world at strongman.
I'm just hoping one day it pays off just for that one special moment where I'm handed a trophy, and hopefully all my problems will go away.
The 3 strongest men in the world are Hafthor Bjornsson, Brian Shaw, and of course, Zydrunas Savickas, Big Z, probably the strongest man in history. And that's a club Eddie wants to join.
I was put on this planet to be a legend.
Congratulations, and I hope you say, I'll be back.
What is up, guys? My name's Carlo. Welcome to another video. We've got the amazing Matt Bell from Wall Shoulder Films in the house, and we're going to be talking about his fantastic documentary, Eddie Strongman, and some bits and bobs. So, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks so much for having me. This was a pleasure getting a nice little message going, hey, can you come on my podcast? So, yeah, thanks for having me, bro.
Anytime. I've been wanting to do this for a little while because I'm a big sort of Eddie Hall fan, and his doc that he directed was fantastic. It really, really was. How did it all start, Matt? How did it all start?
Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, there's a feature-length documentary that's currently on Netflix, which I started shooting, I think, in 2013, and the way it came about, it's about Eddie Hall, the world's strongest man, who's this amazing character. And I first met him when I was presenting the UK Strongest Man on Channel 5, and before that it was on Challenge. You know, really high level content on Challenge. But anyway, I was very lucky to be able to present that. So he kept on winning it, and I went back year after year, and this character and all the other strongmen, who are often very lovely people, you know, maybe not surprisingly, but they're all actually generally kind of gentle giants and very friendly people, even though you wouldn't want to meet them in a dark alley and annoy them. This Eddie Hall character kept on cropping up. He kept on winning, kept on coming first, and he's just this he had so much charisma. Like the other ones are all quite often they're introverts, the other strongmen, and he was quite the opposite. You know, he's this like larger than life character, physically and in terms of his personality. And we kind of got on really well, and I was like, there's something about this guy. So I said, what about we make a film about you? And he was like, they're making a bloody movie about me now. You know, I can't do the accent for this. But he was like, he thought that we were going to make a Hollywood feature about him, I think. And he didn't realize it was just going to be me turning up with a camera and starting to shoot this documentary. But we did a few days on it. And the first thing we did was when he was working as a truck mechanic in Stoke-on-Trent for a dairy. So there's this massive like industrial truck kind of mechanics warehouse thing. So we got some really nice footage. It's actually in the documentary. That was day one.
I remember that, yeah.
And then, you know, the key really was, because it was the first time I'd ever made a feature documentary on my own, and it still is the only one I've made that's my own, just a full feature. But I've been doing camera work and filmmaking and directing, producing and presenting and all sorts for years and years. But I think the key really was just to be able to put one foot in front of the other and do day after day I didn't know where it was going to end up. I didn't know what it was going to be in the end. I had this idea. It was in this strange time when Netflix, in about 2013, Netflix had this real habit of putting on these cool indie documentaries. There was one called Indie Game, and there was also TT Closer to the Edge, all about Guy Martin, you know, the motorcycle guy.
Oh yeah.
And there were a few documentaries about that time, and I just thought, I was watching all these documentaries and I was like, these are shot beautifully, the story's really interesting, but there's kind of no reason I couldn't go and do this, because I've got this kit and I've got, you know, all the extra little bits you might need, like sliders and drones and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just sort of started building one myself, and then finally did manage to sell it to Netflix, so it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then I kind of I ended up doing a Kickstarter campaign to get some funding, which was super cool. Loads of people chipped in a bit of dosh, and we ended up being able to go like around the world and follow Eddie to Australia, to America, to Iceland, and it was just a great experience. And I really felt this transition from being essentially a camera operator, which I was before, a cameraman, to during the Kickstarter campaign, which lasted a month, I managed to raise, it was only £10,000, which I say only, but in filmmaking terms, it's not a lot of money. Obviously, in everyday terms for you and me, it's a big chunk of change. But
yeah, definitely.
I still felt like in that month, I transitioned from being a camera operator to being a filmmaker, and I felt a real a change within myself. It was like a really empowering thing to do. And then like you've got to learn about all the rest of the business of it. Is like, how do you sell a film? Who do you take it to? How do you even have those conversations? How much is a distributor going to take off of you?
Yeah.
As it turns out, it's a lot. But you know, it's such a great learning experience that ever since then I've been trying to recapture that and trying to do documentaries. And you know, for whatever reason, they sometimes fall along the wayside, because I think the real benefit of shooting something about a sports personality or a sportsman or a sportswoman is that, you've probably heard, Carlo, of like the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell like narrative theory, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like the hero's journey, for anyone that doesn't know, is this idea that so Luke Skywalker, Happy Gilmore, Harry Potter, all these films follow the hero's journey archetype, which is, and they do it in different ways very slightly, but you have these archetypal characters, you have this one hero, and he goes on this journey, or he or she goes on this journey, and when they cross the first threshold, then they're out of their normal life and they're into something, into the adventure. It's when Obi-Wan comes to Luke and goes, when R2-D2 comes to Luke and shows him this weird message, that's when we've crossed the first threshold in Star Wars. For Harry Potter, it's when Hedwig comes through the window and he meets Hagrid and he says, "You've got to go to Hogwarts." And in Happy Gilmore, it's when his grandma's house is up for auction. But loads of films follow this archetype. So I was really excited by that, and I started trying to follow this archetypal story, like narrative theory, and trying to apply it to the film with Eddie, which the benefit of that is that with a story about sports, as I was saying, you've got this natural inbuilt hero's journey, because essentially if they're doing a sport, they're either going to win it or lose it. And both of those are great big outcomes. They're really exciting from a character and a story point of view. Obviously, if Eddie had not achieved his goal and had lost, that spins the story in a different way. Fortunately for me, he didn't lose. He won the thing he was trying to win in my documentary. But the problem is then if you go on to try and make a different documentary that's got, let's say, a more abstract or a more nebulous idea, like I've got this idea to make a documentary about the way that the mobile phone is the gateway to like the 21st century, and it's this milestone of human technology that's changed everything, right? The great thing, the difficult thing about that is it's much more nebulous. It's much less easy to follow. Like Eddie, I can just go, "Hello, mate, I'm coming to Stoke. I'm going to film you lifting some weights. Is that all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, come on, cock." And
I could just picturing him saying that.
Can I swear on this or not?
Yeah, of course you can.
"Matt, you fucking cunt." That's what he's like every time. "All right, cunt, how's it going?"
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. So, but you know, so shooting something to do with sports like that, you do have a kind of easier template, if you like. You just have to put one foot in front of the other and follow them to whatever conclusion and try and do it in an exciting artistic way.
But am I right in saying, so you sort of followed him from 2013 to 2017, just before he won the World's Strongest Man?
No, you know what? I think I actually only ended up shooting with him for 2 years, which I say only, it's still a long time. So I finished in 2015, and then the film came out Christmas 2015. So in the documentary, I never actually, he breaks the world deadlift record, and he meets his hero Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he doesn't fulfill the next leg of his journey, which was that he wanted to be the world's strongest man. I got busy with other stuff. And I got, and I kind of went, here's a natural resolution to the film. Maybe I should have carried on shooting. I mean, there's, occasionally.
We all think that, don't we? You know, what we should have done it. But what I wanted to ask you, obviously it's a big commitment to follow someone through, 2-3 years of their life and just focusing on that one project for such a long amount of time. How's the pressure of that? I mean, once you sort of started and you got into it, did you think to yourself, oh my God, I hope I can continue this journey and nothing's going to happen?
It's a really good question. I think what I've tended to do in my adult life is, as a procrastinator, is, like you're a filmmaker. The number of times you've written the first page of a script and then never done any more with that. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you're like me, but I've done that so many times in my life. Like, right, this is it. This is the one. I'm the new Tarantino, and I'll write some dialogue, and it'll be cool and frothy, and I'll like it and whatever. And then the next day I'll look at it and I go, oh, that's shit. I just can't do it. I can't face it. It isn't working. Do you know what I mean? You're not in that headspace anymore. So what was actually the pressure of shooting Eddie Strongman was the real, really positive thing about it in a way, because so many people start a project and can't finish it for whatever reason, including myself on numerous occasions. I think once a decade I finish a project. That's my own project.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, man. I mean,
we've all been there.
Part of the artistic process, and some people are very lucky that my wife is one of them, that she can just start a project and she will finish it. I'm not.
She's a novelist. Is that right? She writes.
That's correct. Yeah. She's a novelist, and she's writing screenplays and a TV series at the moment. So she's ever so busy. Yeah. Her name's Annabelle Knight. Little plug if anyone fancies reading some of the
definitely. I'll post some links in the description below. I'll get some links from Matt at the end of the show. We'll post some links. But yeah, I mean, kudos for the documentary. I mean, it must have been a lot of pressure.
Well, actually, on that note, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, let's go. Just to answer that question properly, what I was really saying is that the pressure of starting and actually just going on that first day to film Eddie being a truck mechanic was the thing that gave me the impetus to carry on, because the pressure was there already. I'd already wasted the time of the UK's Strongest Man. Didn't want to lose his respect or whatever friendship and relationship we built up at that point. Didn't want to piss him off. So I just
you don't want to piss off Eddie Hall.
Yeah, that's the thing that made me carry on and put one foot in front of the other until the film was finished. Was I'd already wasted. If I hadn't finished it, I would have wasted his time. I had a camera operator with me for some of it. I would have wasted his time, and a friend shooting some sound. You don't want. So yeah, the pressure was a really good thing. And the only time that I really felt like I was having an embolism was right towards the end, when, believe it or not, that most of that edit I put into a rough shape, and then and that took me about 2 months every day from when I woke up to when I went to sleep, and I was like pulling my hair out, and I couldn't not see his face when I was falling asleep, and I was like staring at these screens all day, and just didn't take any time for myself. I was just a mess. And then I finally got my friend, one of my really good mates in, who's a really great editor, Tom Bobler, to come in but he lived at my house for 3 weeks to finish it off. I mean, when I say finish it off, he basically pulled the whole thing into a much more simple. I just put in these. You edit, right, Carlo?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So when you put down chunks of footage and you build a sequence, and you're like, okay, well, this bit is Eddie Hall at the Doncaster UK Strongest Man competition, or Europe's Strongest Man competition, and then we're going to go into this sequence of Eddie speaking to his wife and talking about their relationship. I'd like just put everything down and just try and maybe cut it to some music and put it in a mess. And then Tom came in and was like, okay, we need to build a lot more space in this film, even though when I gave it to him, it was 3 hours. And then within 3 weeks, he pulled it down to an hour and a half and got rid of loads of stuff. But by doing so, it created a lot of space in the narrative where there was room for it to breathe and room for you to, as the audience, hopefully absorb more of the information.
That's fantastic. So I don't know whether you wrote a script for this or something, or was it just a case you just went with the flow? On this doc, because docs are quite you can't really script a documentary have to be from the heart. They have to be natural.
Well, so people, if you do like the BBC training courses and stuff, not that I've ever done one, but I used to be, when I was a presenter, I used to be a guinea pig for the BBC's training program where they would want to train up directors and stuff. So I'd go along as a presenter that they could just use for the day. Would never go on TV or anything. It was just as a training tool. So they'd pay me to just turn up. And what was interesting about that is I saw a bunch of directors and the way they all worked. And a lot of people do script documentaries. A lot of people do. Like, there's an amazing documentary maker called Adam Curtis, who's just mind-blowing BBC guy. And he scripts everything quite heavily. In fact, he doesn't do anything without a script. And then some people, yeah, like me, I didn't touch a script once. I didn't write anything down. I mean, there is no voiceover in these StrongMan. So I guess the only thing you could really script is a like rough structure of what you want. But people do that still. From my point of view, what I did instead was I just on the wall, I had this big square whiteboard and I put I put the beginning, the middle, and the end kind of in beats along the film. And then I put what was the energy in that part of the film. Were we on an up or were we on a down? And then I tried to make it so that by the end it followed this hero's journey. And but that's about as close as it came to an actual script at any point. I never really scripted it.
Yeah, because you've got to sort of, even in a documentary, have a beginning, middle, and an end. Hopefully, we haven't seen the end, and hopefully there'll be a part 2. I think there might be a part 2. Don't want to give anything away, but when you're actually doing a documentary, you're filming Eddie, doing these bits. Was there any moments where you thought, "Oh my God, this footage I've got and these scenes I've got are absolutely incredible, but am I going to be allowed to use them?"
Well, yeah, there was a weird moment actually right at the very end of the film. Spoiler alert: when Arnie walks in. When Eddie's trying to go for the I think it was a 265, I can't remember. It was a 265 kilo world record deadlift at the time. Sorry, 465, I should say, rather. 265, I can do that. He's going for that world record. I mean, I can't do 265, actually, by the way. That was a lie. Anyway, I
can't even do 65.
I got a 180.
I'm an old man.
Yeah, me too. My back doesn't want any of that. Nothing to do with that. So there was a moment where I'd gone to Ohio to go to the Arnold StrongMan Classics. Right. And then we'd filmed a bunch of stuff. Eddie had done really badly in the competition. He came like 5th. It was against like Zydrunas and Brian Shaw and these other big strongmen. So he hadn't done well. And then from there, we flew to Australia for him to compete in the Melbourne Arnold StrongMan Classic, and it was for a deadlift world record. And I know that the organizer, Colin Bryce, or one of the guys that helped organize it, is a referee on the World's Strongest Man. Great guy, Colin. He'd sort of managed to help arrange it so that hopefully Arnie would walk in at the moment when Eddie was about to do his world deadlift record. And Arnie does he wants to see people do that kind of feat because he's just amazed by. He's a big part of that scene. It's his event, and he wants to be involved. So there was this moment where I filmed this footage of Arnie coming in just as Eddie's doing the lift, and he's like, "Come on, you can do it. You're a monster."
That was, I think, one of the most powerfulest moments in the documentary, because it just showed how far Eddie's come. Just to have Arnold Schwarzenegger walk up and sort of cheer him on. I mean, not only that must have been emotional to film, but that must have been just like, wow, what a moment.
Oh man, I was so excited. I was just like, because I'd had a guy with me in Ohio, a friend of mine, recording sound and like producing some of what we were doing. Then when I went to Australia, I couldn't afford to take him with me because budget was tight. So I just went on my own with a camera, and we had this amazing moment. Like I'd hardly had any sleep. I was on 3 different time zones mentally. I'd been in London, then Ohio, then Melbourne, and I was lugging all this kit around, staying in a hotel on my own, properly out there doing it. That's how I felt, and it was amazing. And then all of a sudden, this moment happens, and I was just like, instead of following, and I kind of knew it was coming, but when he actually walked in, and I'd actually framed it, and I got like pride of place, I got the better position because there was a lot of other camera operators there, news people and stuff, but they hadn't been following this story, and they just wanted to see Arnie, and I'd managed to kind of jostle and bully my way to the front of that queue. And being the prime position, and shot this amazing moment. And then as soon as it was over, I was like, the competition was carrying on, and I probably should have stuck around and filmed more of it. And I just went, right, I'm going straight back to my apartment or my hotel, and I'm just going to dump the footage, duplicate it onto 3 drives, make sure everything's safe. Always put 2 drives with the kit, 1 drive on me all the time. You know, don't need to lose this footage, because otherwise it's 2 years down.
I think you're a bit like me, because after I have a day shoot, I get scared, and I'm like, I just want to check the footage. I just want to dump it on a computer and back it up 600 times. You get paranoid, don't you?
You do, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you should do, because that's the, imagine that if you've spent, like, I work on big productions now. With my job day to day is I film the behind the scenes on big films and TV shows.
We're going to talk about that in a minute,
Yeah, sure, yeah. So, but you know, if whoever I'm working for, Paramount, Universal, Sony, Netflix, Amazon, whoever, have spent all this money getting me halfway around the world to film something, and it's the one time that we're going to see Arnie do this stunt or Tom Cruise do this thing, and then I film it and it's great, and then the one bit where I fuck up is I lose the drive, or I get, you know, they would imagine the pain there.
The responsibility is
That's where the responsibility bottlenecks for me is, like, and everybody knows this who shoots stuff. The moment you have those cards, they are gold, and you don't let them out of your sight until they've been duplicated and uploaded or whatever you're doing to them.
Well, my studio's in my house where I'm sort of sat now, and we'll do a day of filming, and then as soon as we walk through the door, it could be 1 o'clock in the morning, we could be absolutely shattered. The third thing to do, back up all your drives. Just back it up. I don't care. I'm not going to bed until I know I've got that backed up on 6 drives. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm very lucky now. I get to work with a wrangler, somebody who actually dumps. So I just give them my cards, and they do all the, like, checks and verifications and writing stuff down. I'm very fortunate for that. Not every company I work for provides us with one of them, but yeah, it just means that everything's uploaded, made proxies of, blah, blah, blah. I use a really good bit of software. If you don't use it, you should. It's called Shotput Pro.
I've got Shotput Pro. Yeah. I've got Shotput Pro. I've not used it yet,
great,
but
it's
installed. It is installed.
It just, because all it does is it verifies that everything's copied over correctly. This is me being a super admin nerd now, but yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's good. Organisation is the best sort of thing you can do in this industry. Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm a bit clumsy with stuff, but I've got about 200 terabytes of storage. I just
Me too.
Yeah, you know what it's like. You know, the more storage about. So going back to you've worked on loads of feature films and been a part of loads of feature films. So obviously you did Eddie StrongMan. You had Arnie making an appearance in that. How did Dark Fate come about? Was that sort of connected to?
No, so strangely, I was already shooting. So what I do on films is film the making of. It's called either BTS or it's sometimes called EPK, or some companies call it third unit services. You know, rather than you've got main unit and second unit. Main unit is where they do all the stuff with the actors, and that's the full-time crew on any film. And then second unit will generally be the stunt unit, where, like, when you see them make these things, you actually are there every day. You notice that, like, for example, let's say you've got a film with Ryan Reynolds and there's a big driving action sequence.
Yeah.
I've never worked with him, so I can talk about that without worrying about NDAs. So there's a big driving sequence. In the film, you'll see him saying some smart ass quips to the girl next to him or whoever's in the car next to him. But he'll also be like, and then they'll cut to the big shot of the car, like, and they'll do all these stunts, and it'll be dialogue. What they actually do with that, and it kind of makes perfect sense, is all the stuff with the dialogue is probably shot, for the most part, either on a sound stage where the car is on, like, a kind of hydraulic gimbal thing, and they've got, like, video walls that look like the background. They'll either do that or maybe a green screen, or they'll have Ryan Reynolds in a vehicle that's being towed, so that he doesn't actually have to do any of the steering. But all they do there is they just shoot the dialogue. They don't shoot any of the exterior scenes of the car. And then when we get to second unit, the second unit does all the separate stuff, and Ryan Reynolds is probably in a different country by then, and that's where they shoot the stuff. So it's just a really interesting. Anyway, sorry, your question was, I've had too much coffee. The question was, how did I get into shooting Dark Fate? I'd already shot BTS on a bunch of things by then. I worked on Jurassic World 2, Mission Impossible 6, Holmes and Watson, which was that comedy that was very badly received.
I enjoyed it. But, yeah, I did enjoy it. But mind you, I don't really criticize movies because I know from an indie filmer how difficult it is to do. So, but I do visual effects as well. And I often, when I watch a film, like, how did they do that? How did they do that? And then I'll pick holes.
Yeah.
All little things like that.
Yeah, I do more like that. My wife hates it because she's like, well, I wish I hadn't met you because, I mean, for various reasons. But the main one is that now I've ruined cinema for her because she can't just sit there and be immersed in a film because she's always analytic. And now that she's writing screenplays as well. Yeah,
my wife says
like,
to me, I can never watch a film.
How does that seem? Yeah, go on.
Sorry, Matt. I was just about to say my wife cannot watch a film with me.
No.
She can't watch a film with me. At all. She just says I can never, because I'm always like, oh, especially if the effects are bad, I sort of start critiquing. Yeah. Anyway, get back to
my wife is saying that she can now. She can watch a film with me now, but only because she's into it as well. She's into like the way films are made, and we were watching something last night, and she was going, "Do you know the reason that they're wearing green in this scene is probably because green is like the color of envy or whatever." And it's just like, that's something I don't think about particularly, is like what colors. I mean, I know that people use color palettes and interesting color in film for various reasons, but I can't know what it was we were watching now. But she was like, oh, the reason that that's happening is because they're wearing red to signify this and they're wearing green to signify that. And I'm not sure that is always the case. Quite often, I think production designers and directors are just like, this is the color palette for the film. This person would wear green here. But anyway, she's now into that with me.
Yeah, well, that's a nice thing. Mine can't stand it because, she does her own thing. She's got her own careers and stuff like that, and she comes home and starts listening to me talking about it all day. I've done this, I've done that. She's like, I'll just. But that's a long relationship, you get into a long relationship.
But I think this is the key that people forget. Like, if you got me, if me and you sat down and watched TV. And you put on X Factor, I'd be like really violently, aggressively against the idea of watching X Factor. And the reason is because for various reasons, but I won't get into that. My point is really that people use content in different ways for different things. My wife wants to watch Coronation Street sometimes, and she knows that narratively it's not a work of art. It's just popcorn for her eyes. It's just chewing gum. It's just something that's on. And a lot of people will watch like Love Island or X Factor, things that I find horrible. I just like the concept of them. I don't enjoy them for various reasons because I don't think there's much art or value culturally in there. Not that I'm some I'm not Michelangelo, but I don't know. I think the point is really that people watch and absorb different pieces of content for different reasons, and that's, as I've got older, the more I've realized that, the more I've sort of gone, oh well, let people enjoy it for whatever reason they want to. And I know that some people that watch Eddie Strongman will be watching it because they like the way the story moves or they like the visuals. Some of it, a lot of people will watch it because they like Eddie Hall and they don't understand, and not that they're stupid or anything, but just they don't have the same basis in filmmaking as I do, so they don't know about the mechanics of what made that shot work or why we did it that way. So yeah, if you can make, it's like The Simpsons, if you can make a TV show or some content that appeals to everybody, like young, old, dark, frothy, whatever their sense of humor is, and that's something like The Simpsons, then you've done incredibly well, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I loved about Eddie Hall is I felt I was on a journey. I felt I was on the same journey as Eddie was on. If you haven't seen Eddie Strongman, guys, it's on Netflix now. It's a fantastic documentary. Do recommend it. I'm gonna drop the trailer at the beginning of this video as well, so they've already had a taste of. So let's have some surefire questions.
Yeah, go on then.
Surefire round. Favorite movie?
Can I have two?
Yeah.
I think
only because I love you.
I think Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal, which is, have you seen that?
I have, yes.
I love that movie, man. It's just
a
like
great film.
It's got this voyeuristic element to it. It's really creepy, but it's just a brilliant statement on the nature of capitalism, and it's I just think it's beautifully put together. It's dark as hell, and it's perfect at the same time. And the other film was, they're both from the last 10 years, really. These are just, and everything changes, right? So these aren't my favorite films permanently, but this is two that I can't stop thinking about. The other one is Beasts of the Southern Wild, which is
Never seen it.
Oh man, that's so worth checking out. The little girl who starred in it she was 5 when she was in it. She's called Quvenzhané Wallis. and she was the youngest ever Oscar nomination for Best Actress. And it's this family. Well, it's actually it's a father and daughter that live in the Louisiana Bayou, and it's all so dreamy. Everything feels like a dream. It's really ethereal, but it's all about. What is it about really? Ultimately, I think it's about identity and location, and I think it's about how wild the universe really is. How like the space is a howling void. The sea is there. If the sea isn't sympathetic to your needs, your environment is kind of trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Or just doesn't care, is unsympathetic to you. It's such a beautiful film anyway. It's magical, and the music,
I'm gonna check
and
that
the
out.
production design.
I'll check
You
that
will
out.
love it, man. If you're into that kind of thing, not everyone loved it, but for me, it was one of those films where I sometimes feel like some filmmakers can make a film where you feel like you're watching a dream, and a lot of filmmakers can't do it. I'm too literal to do that, I think, or I'd try and go too surreal. But those kind of films, like, have you ever seen Holy Mountain?
No.
I mean, good luck, because it's almost unwatchable. But that's another film that's a bit like that. It's the most surreal film you've ever seen. It's by a guy called Alejandro Jodorowsky, who was he was this big name in filmmaking in like the 70s, and he was like a surrealist. He was supposed to make Dune the first time they made that, but David Lynch made it in the end. But anyway, like there's that kind of vibe in films. Anyway, this was supposed to be quickfire. Sorry, I'm doing.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Fire on, mate. That's the way it is. Right, favourite director. That's going to be a tough one.
Oh, that's so hard.
It is hard.
I mean, at times, it might be Jean-Pierre Jeunet who did Amélie and Delicatessen.
Right.
But that's, those are old films now, I guess. I do like David Fincher. Like Fight Club and and all the other films he's done. Paul Verhoeven for RoboCop. I don't know. That's an impossible question. I don't know. I love. Do you know what I'm going to say? I'm just going to say it. Lynn Ramsey. I love Lynn Ramsey. She did. Okay. She's British. I think she's British. And she directed. We Need to Talk About Kevin, which, if you haven't seen, is a really tragic film with Tilda Swinton and a young actor, I can't remember his name, about about basically school shootings.
Right.
And it's bleak, but it's really artistic, and that's got a dreamlike feeling to it as well. I think I'm really glad that there's more women directing now, because I think
we need it.
Generalize. We do need it, yeah. But I'm going to generalize and say that I think that quite often you get a different layer of like dreamlike storytelling out of, not always dreamlike, but just a different layer of storytelling, a different kind of depth. I think, and this is going to sound horribly generalistic as well, but while I'm watching a film, sometimes I'll go, I bet this was directed by a woman, and then it was, and that's obviously not me saying anything negative about it. I think that often I'll go, I don't know how a man would have put this. I don't, and again, I'm generalizing, but I think it's fascinating times for film.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really weird time for film, but it's a kind of almost like film is dying out in a way. It feels like, and I don't think it will, but it's a bit like when TV came along and radio got, radio changed. I think now that TV shows in long form as art with massive budgets, like box sets, have come along, I do think that's going to affect the way film is absorbed. I do think that affects what film is. I don't think film has a particularly long shelf life right now. I don't think a lot of people are queuing up to watch films. Like Tenet, which is a Chris Nolan film. Yeah. And in the prime of his creative career, hardly anyone watched it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, but it's not. But TV shows, you get more space to like find out about people. You get more space to delve into character and plot, and you get to have more twists and turns. One of the really restrictive things I think about cinema is that you only really get 2 hours to tell your story in. And if your story is really in depth, then it feels like you had to gloss over some stuff. And only the best filmmakers can do that effortlessly and without it feeling like it was a struggle or it was obvious, in my opinion.
Yeah. So here's another question for you. If you had the opportunity to direct any franchise or any movie, what would it be? So, for instance, you do a lot of the BTS stuff like that, these major motion pictures. Either, if you had a chance to direct any film or even be a part of doing the BTS for any film, what would it be?
If I could go back in time and work on any film, as a BTS director, shooter, whatever I am, would probably be RoboCop. But it might ruin it for me, because that is one of the things you do get from working on a lot of films, is it doesn't ruin them, but it does make you go, whenever I'm watching an amazing, stupendous like stunt sequence now on a film, I'm just in my head, a little bit of me is going, I know that the stunt coordinator would have been stood right here. I know that there's a camera assistant standing, like a first AC standing here pulling focus. I know that there's a grip just pushing the dolly forward or whatever. I kind of know where everyone is because I've been around it a lot, and it sort of ruins it a little bit. But in answer to your question, what would I, if I got the opportunity to direct something? Jesus Christ, maybe it would be. I mean, maybe honestly, it would. Okay, we're talking drama or documentary, or is it just
anything you want? Direction's
I'd like to
directing.
make a documentary on the book Factfulness by Hans Rosling.
Right.
He's this statistician who was mates with, he's dead now. He was mates with Obama and Al Gore, and he's just like this amazing mind, and he's part of this movement of optimistic futurism, I think is probably a good way of putting it. But anyway, in slightly less wanky terms, what would I want to? Do you know what would be good fun, right? Did you see the film Upgrade?
No.
Okay, so there's this wicked film called Upgrade.
You're making me look bad. It's amazing how many films I haven't seen.
Oh, mate, I'm in the same boat, though. Do you know what? I watched Blade Runner for the first time yesterday. That's how lame I am.
No way.
I know, that's bad, isn't it? I only watched Alien for the first time about 2 years ago, even though I've got a film degree and I've spent years around cinema. I shouldn't admit these things. But
that's right.
So there's this film called Upgrade, and you know Jason Blum from Blumhouse?
Yes.
So Blumhouse is this massive production company now, and they did Insidious and all those horror films from that kind of era. And anyway,
in the middle of making Five Nights at Freddy at the moment.
Yeah, no doubt. They come out with, they seem to have a film out every month. They're like crazy productive, and they come out with, so they have like, I don't know, they probably have like 20 films on their slate at any one point, just going and going and going, maybe more. I have no idea really.
Amazing studio.
What they did really cleverly, I think, was make it so that their budgets can be quite low, because horror doesn't always require a big budget. In fact, when it does, it sometimes ruins it. They'd rather make stuff with a low budget and get creative. They just did The Invisible Man with I wish I could remember her name.
I've seen it. It's a really good film.
Great film, loved it.
Yeah,
She's
great.
out with The Handmaid's Tale.
Right.
I can never remember her name.
Can't remember her name.
No, Elizabeth Moss, my wife's just
there. You go.
Yeah. And anyway, so he made this film called Upgrade. He didn't make it. I think he produced it. But the challenge with the film was he wanted to show that you could make a good action film for less than $10 million, I believe. And it is so much fun. I think it's on Netflix now. And it's
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So not the Invisible Man. Upgrade I'm talking about.
Oh, Upgrade. Invisible Man. What's that one? No, that's on Amazon Prime to buy.
Oh, is it? Is it Amazon Prime? Right?
Yeah.
You've got to check it out. It's so cool. For what it is, it's a $10 million budget, and they just pull off so much cool stuff in there. That would be a fun world to explore, to make a franchise of, I think. It's about people being physically upgraded with augmented, augmented limbs and augmented brains. And, I'm really fascinated by all that stuff. I think Cyberpunk and Blade Runner are kind of about that as well. They're about what's the next generation of humanity, or what is humanity 2.0. It's called the transhumanism movement, I think, is where people would eventually elect to lose a finger and have it replaced with a finger that's better, like a robotic finger that can, or an arm, or lungs, or whatever,
Sure.
And we're probably not that far away from that actually happening in some way. Like, people already have, they don't elect to lose a limb now, but they do have, people have a cochlear implant to help them hear, which is one of those where you see people with like a disc stuck to their head and it goes into a wire. That's effectively a brain machine interface. Things like that, or people with these amazing like semi-robotic limbs.
Well, funny you should say that, because one of my best friends is actually in our new film at the moment. He's an amputee himself, and he's got a robotic arm, and it's incredible.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, he's got all these plugs around his arm, and it connects via a bolt, like a long rod, and he sort of sticks the arm in, and the hand works with his foot. So if he thinks he's gonna, it's incredible. And when I see him do it, it's like,
you've seen all the DARPA robots as well.
there you go.
So DARPA is the Defense something something robot blah 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 something, can't remember. Anyway, it's an American it's an American governmental organization that makes robots and cybernetics. You've probably seen like the robot dog that just looks like a table essentially.
Yes.
That can like jump over stuff, and then they've got robotic soldiers now. And when you see them, like the first generation of them, 15 years ago, were just shit. They were like they just fell over all the time. Now they can run and jump over obstacles, do backflips. You know, and as soon as and I think they're part of the military, so I think at some point we'll just have robotic drones with guns running around, you know, which is all a bit RoboCop and a bit terrifying. But once those technologies finally merge and finally get to a point where people, like you say, can elect to have like your eye. So I read about this recently. We're totally off topic now.
That's all right.
I was reading about the way that Elon Musk sees the phone generally, because obviously the phone is like a gateway to a whole other world, really. Like suddenly this thing exists, this monolith, and this slab of technology, and you can speak to anyone across the world. You can ask it any question. It can compute things that the human brain can't.
Yeah.
And you can listen to music, record yourself, blah, blah, blah. All these things that are revolutionary. But the bandwidth for your communication on this device is thumb speed, because it works at that sort of speed on the whole, which suddenly slows down. It's an impediment to our communication. But once the technology is so, you know, it's just this medium that's a bit frustrating. Once the technology is in my eye, it'll be, or like you've got an overlay, an augmented reality overlay.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you elect to have that? Now that I've got access to social media, Wikipedia, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be revolutionary if you could just be like, every time I saw you, all the details that you allow me to see popped up above your head. Yeah. I mean, that'd be so useful, wouldn't it? It would just save time.
Well, I think that's an important topic.
Your pulse was all right, and whether you were having a heart attack, or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
What I love is technology has come so far. So, you know, things like gimbals, for instance, and stabilizers. You know, they've been going for years, as we know. But you know, coming to low budget filmmakers like myself, you know, being able to buy them at a decent price, not only do they make your footage look crisper and smoother and look a lot better, it's so handy for people like myself. Yeah, people don't understand how helpful it really is to someone who's got Parkinson's disease or.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
I mean, the gimbals come on every year as well. It's mind blowing. They're like, so I've got a Ronin S1 down there, and I've got a Ronin S2 down there, and they're not that different. The iterations are like, it's lighter, it's made of carbon fiber, it's but like more and more stuff added to it. Just more like the motors are stronger. You can put a heavier camera on it. You can get it to broadcast straight to your phone, so you can use your phone as a monitor now. And these
one of these, we put, get the old DJI. We get the Osmo, the iPhone 12 on it, and get some stunning footage out of it. You can
do an awful lot with an iPhone. I mean, like, this is the thing I feel like I'm missing out on a little bit, is actually, I'd quite like to shoot on an iPhone. I'd like to shoot something on an iPhone, and it sounds ridiculous, because I've got 3 red Geminis of my own. I've got like 2 A7S3s and like Inspire 2 and all these drones and gimbals and stuff.
I mean, that's what I've always said to loads of people. My theory is it's not what you shoot with, it's how you shoot with it. It's not what you use, it's how you use it.
That's more like, not what you use, is how you use it. And I think Casey Neistat, who's a big vlogger as well, you probably know, he said once, kit is just a distraction, which I do. I mean, like, and you're a man, so you're probably like me. You probably like get het up on which bit of kit you're meant to use and get all excited. I spend weeks and weeks buying kit or not buying kit, and looking on CVP or on Amazon and like hovering over the buy button on expensive stuff, and then eventually just going, it doesn't really matter half the time, as long as it does the job. There's no real difference between the GH5S and the GH5, or the S1H and the S1, or the red Gemini and the red Komodo. There are features that are different. Whatever camera you have, you'll make it work. The saying goes, what's the best camera in the world? The one you've got with you, I mean, when we started production on this film, The Wrong, that we're filming now, we was looking at reds. And, good camera, yeah.
And someone said to me, why? Do you know what I mean? Just like that, why? And I was like, what do you mean why? Because it's a red?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean,
and he convinced me to go for the Blackmagic Micro Cinema camera.
Great.
But I've already got, but I already own you remember the original Blackmagic Cinema camera?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the one that's slightly weird shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reds are nice though. You can shoot. I mean, the thing I like about the Gemini is it does 4K 120. It's got a dual native ISO, and you can, it's a good documentary camera, really. However, it's the upper size limit that I would want from a camera.
But
from a documentary camera anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we bought like I just said, we bought the Blackmagic the Blackmagic Micro Cinema camera.
Yeah,
and then obviously we started filming with that, and then the Komodo came out, and I was like, "Oh, you're joking!" Because it's like the same size, near enough the same size.
It happens every time though, and I bet the thing is as well, you'll make what you've got work, and you should make what you've got work, and you'll learn from that, and you'll go on the next film, you'll go, right, well. That camera didn't have the best latitude or whatever, but what did it have? And then you'll work it out. I mean, there is no perfect camera either. That's the most frustrating thing about it. Is I bought 3 red Geminis, and then the Komodo comes out as well. But the Komodo doesn't do 4K 120. I can't shoot super slow mo with that. So, and I do use that quite a lot for what I do. So it's all swings and roundabouts. And then guess what? The Sony FX6 came out, and that's even cheaper than the Komodo, and it does do 4K 120. It's not as high a bit rate. It's all this stuff. I get to a point where I'm like pulling my hair out, going, it doesn't have dual native ISO, but it does shoot 4K 120. But what about the audio inputs? It's only a mini jack, and I want XLRs, blah 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 blah. And eventually, you just go, if I had to shoot this on an iPhone, would it be that much worse?
Yeah,
probably not. If you're talking about remaking Blade Runner and doing it with an iPhone, sure, probably don't. But if you're talking about just shooting some documentary footage or some coverage, a lot of the time a phone is it's so portable and so small and so user friendly that it would be. You could shoot a whole documentary on an iPhone.
Of course you could.
Quite like to try it. Quite like to do it.
I think it'd be because my dream. I really want to film a wildlife doc. Out in Africa, it's something I really want to do before I die.
Where would you want to go and film that?
I want to go Kenya.
Oh, nice, man. Yeah.
Just do something. I don't care what it is. Just go out there. Film some footage and just make something creative out of it.
I did I tried to make a wildlife film once. I went to the Amazon, in Ecuador.
Did you have that on YouTube on your YouTube channel?
Oh no, that was when I did. That was going and making a film about bananas in Colombia.
That's right.
That was one of my first projects. No, years before that, I went out to Ecuador and tried to make a wildlife film, and it just went very badly because I don't know anything. I don't have the patience. I'm too skittish, and I want to move around and get footage, and I want to mess about. Whereas you need the patience of a saint to sit there and wait for monkeys.
So going back to Eddie StrongMan.
Yeah.
Before you go, are we going to see a part 2? I'm going to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. Well, I mean, we're having a few problems with that at the moment, so. I'm probably not meant to say, but we shot a lot of it. I did shoot a lot of it. I shot initially 2 weeks of it just on my own, and then we had a couple of issues, and we just sort of went, maybe we'll leave it. And then some other opportunity came up to sort of make a sequel, and I shot on that. I worked on that for almost 2 years, and probably did about 5 weeks of solid shooting on it. All the rest of the time was just planning or going off and doing other jobs. And then, so yeah, I mean, there is a bunch of footage sat there, but the other people involved with it it didn't go as smoothly as I would have liked with them, to be honest.
Really? Sorry.
And one thing I would say is if you get invited to work on a film and even 1% of it smells like bullshit, and the people that you're dealing with are making you a lot of promises, and sometimes those promises come true. I've worked for a lot of big studios, and those promises come true a lot of the time, or even independent people who say something and then it happens. And I've also been on the other side of it, where I've had to promise someone something and then it hasn't ended up coming true. But I always try and do my very best to make sure that I'm not talking shit, which I have had that experience on this sequel. So nothing to do with Eddie. He's a legend, and I think he's fantastic.
We all love Eddie.
We all love Eddie, and he's got this boxing match coming up. And we were talking about doing something around that as well as.
That would be amazing.
I'm just.
I want to
right
try
now.
and get out there for that. I want to try and get out there for that.
It'll be such a cool event, right? I'd love to
Yeah.
see it. I don't think I'm going to get a chance to go and shoot it at this rate, just because I'm so busy with other projects, with working for my main clients, and those are the bread and butter clients. I like documentaries for me, and I want documentary to remain something I love and enjoy. They don't feel like a chore or a job. It's something I want to go and do. Whereas the work I do is different. It is your bread and butter, so you can't really turn that down when you're offered months and months on a big production.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what the state of play is with the sequel. There is one. There is the footage exists.
Yeah.
Whether it ever gets edited or whether
Chuck it over here. I'll edit it for you.
All right, mate. You have it. Yeah, get on with it. Yeah, it's annoying because half the footage is owned by, about 90% of the footage is owned by me until I'm paid for it. And then a load of the other footage is owned by some other people. I can't really go into too many specifics about it, but unless we all come to an agreement and the money appears from somewhere that was supposed to be there, then I don't think there's going to be much movement, which is a shame, because it would possibly be a cool film. But just to give people a tantalizing idea of what it's about, it follows Eddie on his like post World's Strongest Man. We do a bit of the World's Strongest Man, and then the idea is we follow him into what his next phase is, including the boxing, including all the social media stuff. It's like, what do you do after you've achieved? The question I think it's answering is, what do you do after you've achieved your biggest crowning glory? What did Neil Armstrong do after he landed on the moon? What did Eddie Hall do after he won the World's Strongest Man and became the 500 kilo deadlift world record holder?
Get it made. It sounds awesome.
I know. I'd like to. It's just
sounds so good.
Fucking headache to start for a large part of it that I'd like to. I think it's cool. I think there's loads of good footage there.
It's like you say, if you're going to get a fucking headache over it, then
just don't need it. I've got other things. It's not like I'm not being called by the studios and asked to go and work on their productions. So, but all that said, I'm in love with film and I want to make films and I want to be a filmmaker. I don't always want to just be someone that goes and works for other people. But it's a balance. While I've got a mortgage to pay and
we've got to do what we've got to do. We've got to do what we've got to do.
I'm also in the most privileged position of all, where I actually get to do a job I like, when most people don't. Most people get to, maybe they like it for some reason or other, but I literally chose the thing I wanted to do and went and did it. And that's not me saying because I'm brilliant. I'm so incredibly fortunate. So many people didn't have all those luxuries and all those privileges and the ability to get into something like that. I was just blessed with a bunch of reasons why it happened, right? I feel very, very lucky. It's a great industry.
Absolutely. You've done so well.
Thank you, mate.
So congratulations on Eddie Strongman. I do hope there's a sequel. I'm crossing my fingers.
There'll be something else.
I've seen it 4 times. I love it. Is it available to buy on DVD or Blu-ray?
Oh, I don't think it is. No. It was available to buy, but I don't think it is anymore, because I was having to personally fulfill the orders by employing a DVD company, and it was good for a bit, and then I just sort of went, actually, this is too much of a headache. I've got too many other things going on to have to.
Oh, excuse me. Well, thank you so much, Matt. You're an
thanks, Carlo. Thanks
for speaking to me. It's always an honour.
It's a pleasure, mate. I really appreciate you having me on, and it's good luck with the podcast, man. I hope it goes really well. We've
got to do what we've got to do, haven't we? we got another 6 people lined up to come on the show, so it's really exciting. I'm quite excited. We've even got an Ewok from Return of the Jedi coming on. So.
Get out.
Yes, we have. We've got an Ewok coming on.
I feel privileged to be in such good company.
So, Matt, listen, we love you very much.
Thanks,
get back
man.
on YouTube soon, brother.
Will do, man.
I
Thanks.
missed the vlogs. Take care, brother.
Take it easy, Carlo. Thanks, man.
Ciao, ciao, bello.
Peace out.
Bye.
See you again.